Welcome to the Empowered Working Mom Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Jocelyn Young. Our mission here is to amplify the stories of all moms so that they can be seen, heard, and supported in their motherhood journey, regardless of whether they're balancing motherhood with an external career or choosing to dedicate themselves fully to motherhood. We believe here that everyone has a unique story, and we found that storytelling is an impactful way to connect and learn from one another. Because sharing and listening to each other's stories makes us feel connected, supported, and inspired. We're excited to bring you diverse stories from fellow working moms like you. So grab your favorite drink, get cozy, and listen in to today's story to feel acknowledged, encouraged, and most importantly, that you're not alone in your experience as a working mom. Hey mama friends, I'm your host Jocelyn, and I'm so excited to share today's conversation with you. We're talking with Julia Sewell, founder of the Self-Made Mom movement and author of the book by the same name. Julia is a performance coach who has impacted thousands of working mothers, helping them rediscover their power, intention, and joy without getting lost in service to their families and careers. Now, what really resonated with me during our conversation was when Julia said, "You need to remember that you are also a member of the family that you serve, not just the person serving everyone else." And when she said that, that was totally a drop the mic moment, y'all. So in today's episode, we're diving deep into why having a plan isn't selfish, it's self-leadership, how to apply business sense and savvy to your personal life, and Julia's game-changing, quote-unquote, behavior layering approach to sustainable change. Plus, she's sharing why you're worthy of being the sun in your family's solar system, which I really love that metaphor. So this conversation is low-key fire, and I can't wait for you to hear it. And as I always say, grab your favorite drink, get cozy, and let's dive in. Hey, Julia, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so excited just to have you on here and just to share your story, because I love what you're just like messaging on the work that you do, the self-made mom. And I'm like, ooh, I'm so curious about like how you came to becoming the self-made mom and the work that you do. So can you tell me just like what's like a significant moment in your life that really led you to where you are today?
Certainly. So the movement behind the self-made mom certainly originated in my own personal experience, but also in the experiences of the hundreds of executive women that I've been coaching for a decade. It's certainly not my individual experience that has written this book or started this movement, but it was the motivation behind, oh, I really need to do something about this. So I am a working mother. Obviously I had 3 children in 18 months. So I had a singleton and then I had a set of twins, which is a really fast entry into my mom life. And while that experience was certainly defining in lots of different ways, as it pertains to the self-made mom, what it really made me have to do was face the difficulties of balancing working mom life super fast and with a lot of attention. The epiphany of, oh my gosh, I am the self-made mom and I need to start this movement really came from huge explosive desperation and depletion, but individually as a woman, and then between my husband and I in our marriage. And we had these few weeks, I call it the red cup incident in the book, where in the course of this huge big fight, an acrylic cup got broken, and out in our yard, like in our driveway. And it took all the heat out of the fight, and we kind of were shocked, both of us. And we said, okay, let's stop. I love you. Let's go to bed. We'll address this in the morning, and we'll clean that cup up in the morning. And overnight it snowed. I live in Colorado, and it snowed a lot, and buried the pieces of that cup. And over the next few weeks, as the snow, accumulated and then melted as it does in the winter, little pieces of red cup surfaced in our yard over and over and over as kind of this reminder that we were not okay. It was a really visual representation of mostly me. I wasn't okay. And so we got to work, and I started unknowingly, I started my self-making process at the time. And several months later, I had transformed many different areas of my life using the tools and tactics that I'd been coaching my clients for years and years and years. And my husband and I were sitting on the couch, and I'm like, man, this has been such a great change. I want to do this for other women. And I want to start this movement. And long story short, it came out that I wanted to be able to help a woman construct herself, construct her life and her new identity. You know, the identity crisis is such a huge part of motherhood. Construct her new identity as if a self-made business person were doing it. So kind of using that framework, the humility it takes to be self-made, the resource gathering, the courage, you know, all of those components of becoming self-made as a business person, we could apply to our own lives. And so that's really where the self-made mom came from.
Oh my goodness. So I have one, like when you say like all the tools that you used for yourself, I'm curious, which is the one that is the most powerful and impactful that was for you?
Gosh, there are so many tools that you can implement on a daily basis, and none of them matter without a foundational change in belief system. So the thing that helped me the most, the thing that was the most impactful for me, was the realization and then commitment to the fact that I was a member of the family that I was serving. What had happened was, out of adoration and you know, devotion and all of those things that you have for your career and your family, you apply all of your energy to serving them, and you make sure that they have what they need, and you're anticipating their every thought and want and desire, right? Whether that's at home or at work, and you forget to do that for yourself. And the self-making process is simply the remembering and prioritizing of yourself as a member of the family that you serve, allowing your needs to be just as relevant as your daughter or son's, allowing your career ambition to be just as meaningful as your partner, and not always making your own dinner plate last.
Ooh.
That was the biggest change, was just allowing myself to be one of the five, not it to be the four of them and then me over here, just to have it be the five of us, you know, that we all, I serve all of us, not just them.
Yeah, I love that, because it's a change. It's a reframe of perspective,
Right.
like where you fall in the picture. It's like, oh, you're putting yourself back in the picture. I think that's such a huge reminder. And I love this when guests are like, I just dropped the mic right now. Like, you just dropped the mic right now. Literally, like, oh my gosh, remember, you are also a member of the family unit.
And your life is sacred too.
Yeah.
So many women I've spoken to, myself included, have tried to verbalize this shocking feeling of, I, in some way, created a family, whether that's through birth or adoption or however it goes, right? It's not linear. I created this family. And during that time, my role as a mother was so sacred, and people treated me that way. And man, I am the goddess. And then boom, baby's born. And all sanctity of my needs and my desires and all those things become last. And I am simply a provider of the things that everyone else needs. And that is so much more common than we want to admit, right? And it is sad. It's a tragedy that women feel as though they have to give up the sanctity of their lives in order to truly serve those that they love. That's just the truth. It's a lie that we've told ourselves. And I'm certainly not saying choose yourself over your children, choose yourself over your partner. Absolutely not. Who would do that? You don't do that if you love someone. But you can say, I am the same importance as those people in this life we're all building together. And that's really what making is.
Alrighty, y'all, let's take a quick break to hear about some things that might make your mom life a little bit easier. Hey there, mamas. Let's talk about that 4 p.m. panic moment we all know too well. You know, when you realize you have no idea what's for dinner tonight, let alone the rest of the week. I've totally been there, standing in the Trader Joe aisle, trying to piece together meals while juggling work calls and school pickup times. And that's why I'm excited to share Plan to Eat with you, the meal planning service that has honestly been a super game changer for me and my family. I've been using it for years. Plan to Eat lets you organize your recipes, automatically generates shopping lists, and helps you plan your meals for the week in just minutes. No more last minute takeout guilt or scrambling through Pinterest at 5 p.m. What I love most is how it gives me back control over my time and our family to be able to eat healthily. I can plan our meals during my Sunday coffee moments, and the rest of the week just flows smoothly. Right now, my listeners can get 20% off their first year subscription. Just head to plantoeat.com/REF/empowered mom. That's plantoeat.com/REF/empowered mom. Trust me, your future self will thank you when you're not stressing about dinner every single night. Now back to our conversation. Okay, mama friends, let's dive back into this amazing conversation.
Choose yourself over your children. Choose yourself over your partner. Absolutely not. Who would do that? You don't do that if you love someone. But you can say, I am the same importance as those people in this life we're all building together. And that's really what making is.
Yeah, I love that because you're debunking the myth. I don't know where that dang myth came from, but
there's a lot of history that shows us that women had to do that to survive. Their ability to serve others was the way that they stayed alive. I mean, if we're talking about really basic human behavior, it was the way we stayed alive for a really long time. Luckily, that's not the case anymore, yet we still exhibit these behaviors.
Yeah, I love that because that's the whole premise of here, the stories that we share here on the podcast is let's rewrite this narrative of what it means to have this identity. It's not our full identity. It's just part of who we are. But I love what you're saying. It's put yourself back in here, right? Put yourself back in here. You don't need to, I'm going to put in air quotes, sacrifice. Mm-hmm. You're not a sacrificial lamb, y'all. We're not a sacrificial.
Well, and the problem with sacrifice is while sacrifice is so good and it's a part of life, it is a part of devotion. We are more than willing to sacrifice some things for those that we care about. In motherhood, sacrifice gets mistaken for self-abandonment.
Yes.
It's no longer sacrifice in a healthy, committed, long-term relationship type of way. It's just self-abandoned, straight up. I haven't thought about myself. I don't care about myself. I don't prioritize myself. I reject it when others try to do it. Right? That is 100% a behavior that women do. And it's self-abandoning. It is a manifestation of low self-worth. It is a manifestation of I've never built real confidence for myself. And so all my worthiness is tied to my ability to serve this family or serve this career until my nails are bleeding, and there's really nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually really love the point that you brought up here just now is your career too, because not only can this happen just within your family unit, but also within your career, right?
It happens so much and
so much.
And it is the maybe boomerang effect or whiplash effect of for so long women were not allowed the opportunity to get an education and have a career. And now that we are, so many of us, myself included, I was a mother later in life. My career was 100% my identity. And I was so ferociously attached to that because darn it, I earned that, I was never going to let that go. And it was the only way that I had value in this world. I've had a huge epiphany over the last few years about the ability, or I don't know if it's the ability, but just the willingness to accept that this dual identity can now be how I serve my own purpose as opposed to career and motherhood fighting all the time. Like, it can be both. We can have a brand that encompasses both. When I say brand, I mean, that's what I mean by like bringing business acumen into this conversation about our personal lives. But like, you have a brand, right? And it can include both your career and your mothering, and you can be awesome at both. But it does take courage, and you have to make deliberate choices, and sometimes thoughtful sacrifice of what used to be a priority and now isn't. I mean, there's a lot of change that comes along with it.
Yeah. It brings me back to what you said at the start of our conversation, that your journey to becoming the self-made man, it really took a lot of intention. And I'm wondering if that's like the reframe for us as moms of like, maybe it's not just sacrifice, it's intention, right? It's intention. Like, what's like being intentional about the things that we are choosing to, reframe our perspective, choose intention to choose courage, intention to like, come to a different place of how we see ourselves. Right. And so I just like, I just really love where this conversation is going. I'm just saying, Julia, this is like so fire.
To your point about intention, the interesting part of working motherhood is that it is extremely reactive. We're responding constantly to the need of the partner, to the need of the children, to the need of the career, and that doesn't allow much space for intention. However, most women don't want some kind of drastic change in their life. What I like to say is, self-making is when you want nothing about your life to change, but you need everything about the way you live your life to change. Like, that's where this comes in. And so in this reactivity, we have little intention. So mama always gets left last. Most women don't need a drastic change. They just need a plan. They don't want to change their partner. They don't want to, walk away from their kids, God forbid. They don't want to change their career. They just need a plan. They need a plan that includes them as someone who needs things. They need a plan for how they manage their time. They need a plan for how they prioritize their financial resources, or ask for help, or communicate with a partner. We just need a plan. When you have a plan, you can be proactive. And no longer are you constantly getting caught on your heels by these parts of your life that require your attention. Okay, it's the first week of school, for example. Everyone's going back to school. I am aware that I probably should get up. My plan is I'm going to get up 30 minutes earlier than I normally would on the first day of school, because I want to get that little sign ready, and everything's going to take a little longer because it's the first day. And for me, I don't want the stress. Because that's really where it lands, is mama absorbs all of the stress of that situation. And all you have to do is say, what should my plan for mitigating this different day be? I'm going to maybe go to sleep a little earlier the night before, organize something, get up a little earlier for me, not for them. They're going to get the same no matter what, right? You're going to make sure that happens. It's you that gets left behind.
Yeah, it's putting your needs first. And I'm going to say, everyone, it's not selfish, it's self-leadership. Like, and
it doesn't even have to be, it just has to be at the same level as the others.
Yeah, you're a member of the family.
What if you said every morning, this is the mental list that mama goes through. She says to herself, she wakes up, she says, what do my children need today? And then she lists all those things. And then she says to herself, what does my partner need today? And then she lists all those things. What if there was a third question? What if she actually said, and what do I need today? And that question was just as important as the first two, and always got an answer, and then had a plan attached to it. Because she's making plans for the kids and the partner.
That is I'm a type A person, so I love plans, but I love how everyone.
Can you imagine? I also be a type A individual. I'd love a good list. If you look around my life, I've got some lists.
Yes, I am loving that. And I love how just plans, it's like underlying that there is intention because you have a plan, right? Like, I want to ask for the mama who's listening here, who is like, yes, I want to put myself back on the, see myself as a member. And yet, how I'm hearing this is like, you've been in this cycle for so long, right? But like you said this, what you need to change. But sometimes change is hard.
Oh, yes.
Change is hard. Yeah. So like, what would you say to that mama who is like, I know I can feel it in my bones. I know I need to make this change because I know it'll be good for me, my family, right? My kids. What would you say to that mama as the first tiny thing that mom can do?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up, and I address this very explicitly in the book. The major takeaway I have learned from coaching high performing individuals forever, I have been doing this forever, and I have coached thousands and thousands and thousands of working mothers, is that because mama is the sun in the solar system, right? Everyone else revolves around her. And by the way, if you don't believe that yet, hear what I'm saying. You are the sun in the solar system of your family. And that is a joyful and wonderful thing. It also creates a high degree of responsibility. So if a mama changes, the whole functionality of the family changes, which is why she doesn't change as often as she'd like. So with that in mind, understand that in order to kind of get the family on board, you have to use communication up front. And in order for this change to be sticky, you must give yourself some grace. So we actually talk about this in my book a lot. There is a methodology to create sustainable change in your life that has a real plan attached to it. And I'm going to quickly just blurt it out, and then we can unpack it in just a second. So here's kind of how it goes. I call it behavior layering, and it is an acknowledgement that it takes time for human beings to change. So take 15 weeks. I know you're like, well, that's a really long time. But for big changes that change your life, it's worth giving it this time. Take 15 weeks, and on week 1, pick one day and do the change. Say, for example, the change is, I'm going to get up 30 minutes earlier so that I have some peace in the morning. I'm going to drink my hot beverage on the couch with no one else awake. I want this mental preparation for the day. Might seem like a small change, but we all know as moms, that's harder than we think to implement. Right? Take one day in 1 week and do it. 100% execution. And then give yourself a clap and walk away. And then the next week, do it 2 days for 2 weeks. 2 times a week for 2 weeks. You see where I'm going? And then 3 times a week for 3 weeks. And then 4 times a week for 4 weeks. And then 5 times a week for 5 weeks. And at the end of that cycle, you will have created a new and very sustainable behavior change in your own life and in the way that your family functions. You will have allowed everyone to adjust, including yourself. You will allow for some deviation because life is unpredictable. And you will have also gotten to settle into the change and give yourself the opportunity to say, is this the change I really want? Do I need to, augment my ambition here? Whatever it is. But that slow and sustainable integration of change into your life is the way to do it. 180-degree change. We love to talk about it, and it's very rarely very sticky.
So true. I love how you just like laid it out about like it's habit formation, like habit and behavior. And it does take time. I think that's like the one thing that is really hard for some of us, even as moms, like we just want to happen like that. But it's like the way that you explained it allows for grace. The whole process allows for grace. So like I hear, sometimes I hear moms like, yeah, people tell me just give myself grace. I don't even know what that means, right? Like, but just like what you explained, the process of change, implementing change in a very slow, tiny way allows for that practice of grace that you're giving yourself, whether whether you're it or not. It literally is giving yourself grace. So I love that plan.
Yeah, it's a plan.
Love it.
It's a plan. Isn't that interesting? So one more comment about this change system, this behavior layering, is that it also takes away the fear factor. Because
Mm-hmm.
we are so hardwired to fear change. That's an evolutionary
Oh.
impulse that we still live with, right? Which is okay, and that's good. But the fear of change stops so many women from implementing any kind of differentiation in the way that they live. But this system, one day, one week, right? You're like, well, if I hate it, I can just trash it. Like, so, okay, fear taken away. That's good. So back to this idea of plan. This is where that business acumen comes in, because you would never approach a project at work without a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we are so educated and so smart and so talented at work. And we do all of these things. We manage people and we manage projects. And, who knows, right? There's a woman in every single career that's out there nowadays. And we're doing all these things at work. And for some reason, the second we cross the threshold of our home, we forget them all.
So,
We walk,
100%.
we walk in and we're just surprised by the chaos, and we have no structure, no organization, no plan. But those that take the time to do that function better. There is an upfront investment of time and effort, right? Which is sometimes
Mm-hmm.
exhausting. So temper, you don't have to revolutionize your whole household overnight. Give yourself that grace, but just a thing at a time, and apply business acumen to your life for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back to that metaphor that you said where the solar system, because that really stuck out to me, because that resonates with me, because I'm like, yes, preach, Julia, because I believe the same thing. Because, I've had quite a few questions, in my personal life from my friends, and just even from, networking with other people, is they're like, well, how did you change that in your family? Like, how did you change? We went through some stuff in our family too. And I was like, well, it started with me. And that reminds me of your solar system, because when you make that change in yourself, it actually creates that ripple effect of everyone else around you.
Yeah.
So when you have that plan for yourself, that actually helps the other plans of those other planets that are orbiting you're caring for.
And
So
I
love
don't know about you, but I really struggled with admitting to myself that I was the son.
Yeah.
Prior to having children, my husband was the son of my life. No question. I wanted to revolve around him. It was a devotion. I love him. I might be a little obsessed with him. That's a whole conversation. But anyway, and then the kids were born and I wanted it to be them. I wanted them to be the son. And me being the son was so hard to admit. And the truth is that is rooted in an absence of self-worth and confidence. And this unwillingness to believe that I was worthy of being the son in the family. So all of this self-making work helped me feel thoughtful enough about my own core values. For example, like I never had my own set of values. I borrowed them from my nuclear family growing up, and then I borrowed them from partner, or I borrowed them from workplace, or whatever it was. Never had my own set of values. So that was number one. I had to come up with my own set of values. Then I had to learn how to build real and true confidence. By the way, it's formulaic. There is a methodology behind it. So when you do that work, you can start to sort of believe you might be worthy of being the son. Then you have to disentangle your self-worth from the things that you do. You have to make it that you're worthy of people revolving around you, even if you didn't get your to-do list done. We all know as mama, the to-do list is never done. So that's a real problem. If your self-worth is attached to your ability to do a to-do list, uh-oh. But I bet there's some right now who are saying, oh, shoot, that's me. Because it was definitely me, for no question. Right.
Yeah.
And we have to uncover these little lies that we're telling ourselves. And, anyway, you go through this whole self-making process. And at the end, you finally realize, oh, not only am I worthy of being the son, but I'm strong enough. I'm thoughtful. I have values. I'm intentional about my choices. I should be the son of this family. I'm the one keeping a pulse on everyone's emotional health anyway, right? Like we all know that mama does that just instinctually. In any given moment, mama knows which kid is struggling with what, and what partner is really thinking on the inside, and all of those things. Mom knows. That's her gift, I think is the right way to say that. Right?
Yes.
That's a special
Yes.
gift. And so the person that has that pulse should be the center of the solar system.
Mm. Something that really stuck out to me when you were saying that is one, you just gave, if you're listening, she just gave you the start of your plan. Like, Julia just gave you the start, starting with your values. That
Exactly.
is most powerful work. I will say myself too, when I realize I'm like, whoa, what are my values? Because that is the foundation of what your plan is going to be and what you're going to be creating. Like, yeah, and that's huge because as I was listening to you, I was like, oh my gosh, you're really, you know, identifying who you are outside of all these identities. Like
Yes.
who, like, people say like your true self, right? I know that's like a buzzword around lately, but like that's like who you are. And then you get to take on these identities. But who are you? Like, and understanding your worth, building, strengthening your confidence. You have that confidence and you just have to find it again. Like
Yeah.
find
And
it
be
again.
able to demonstrate your values through those identities, like through the roles that you play in your life. And the
Yes.
role doesn't dictate who you are and how you act. It's you dictate who you are and how you act, and then the role adjusts accordingly. And
Mhm.
that creates so much intrinsic power. That is another part of the self-making platform is this recapture of power. And so many mothers feel like they have lost this powerful ability, or maybe they never had it. But
Mhm.
power, not like I will make you do what I want you to do, not that kind of power,
No.
but power in the form of fortitude and decisiveness. Right? That's a huge demonstration of power, being willing to make a choice and know that choice is aligned with your core values. Right? A power is the ability to have self-discipline, a thoughtful, plan for choosing to not do something or choosing to do something consistently. That's power. The ability to walk around and not need affirmation from those around you. Right? I mean, how many mamas are walking around desperately needing someone to notice how hard they're working or how beautiful they are or how intelligent they are at work, and no one notices because they're all leading their own complex and dynamic lives, and we're
Mhm.
withering because we need that affirmation. That's a power giveaway in its most basic form.
Yes. Oh, I love how you called that out, Julia. Like
But in
that
women,
is
we are from the day we're born. It's the way other people perceive us is how we get our self-worth, right? And that is, so we're
mhm.
never taught to establish our own power cycle or power source. And that had to stop for me. And that was a big part of the self-making was I can no longer rely on my husband or my children or my job to be my power source. Because on any given day,
So
they're busy.
yes, I know.
Not even like malicious. They're just busy. They have their own lives. They didn't notice how badly I needed that compliment or whatever, fill in the blank thing. And so they just went on around their way. And I'm like crumbling over here. Like, that's not sustainable or safe even to live that way. And it's certainly not going to allow you to set the example that you want to set for your children, right?
Mhm.
Which is extrinsic opinion isn't important. We all want our children to have this intrinsic sense of self-worth, but we're
Mhm.
walking around a shell of ourselves just waiting for someone to give us a stroke. We don't have an intrinsic sense of self-worth, so how could they?
Yes, I love how you bring that up because I'm a firm believer of, you know, we we can't tell our kids what we want for them. We got to model it for them. We got to do that work ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So that external validation, like it's such an interesting topic because that is something I struggled with that for a long time. And
You are not alone.
y'all took 4 decades until I'm like, oh, you know what? Don't need to like give my power away and seek that all the time.
Mhm.
That's just giving my self-worth to someone, like telling me how worthy I am. Like,
Yeah.
why is that? And that was energy draining, right? If you think about it, it's really energy draining. So
When
like how
energy is a really, really finite resource.
yes,
You
exactly.
not have a slowly gone energy when you are a mama of kiddos and you have a career and all those kind of things. Like, absolutely not. We got to plug those puppies right up. Cannot do that.
Yeah, plug those over. And I was like, why am I so freaking tired? Right.
Mhm.
And it's because I spent so much energy seeking that external validation. Like, Like, I just want to know I'm good enough. I just want to know I'm worthy enough, right? All those things, like, am I doing good? And I guess, I want to hear from you, like, how did you turn that back inward, right? Because it's all outward. We're seeking that outwardly, but to turn it back inward, I know for myself, it was a process, right?
Oh, well, that is why so many people say your 40s are the best decade of your life. I just turned 40, and so I'm thinking that a lot. Yeah. But the reason they say that is because by the time you're 40, you've probably figured out that while we think everybody cares about what we're doing, they actually don't. And that external validation need quells a little bit just with maturation. But I argue that why do we have to wait until we're 40? Like, why can't we do this earlier? I would have loved to have been this convicted and self-assured when I was 25. I mean, watch out, world, right? Of course, I was not. But if I had been, we don't know what we could have come up with. But so anyway, all that to say, if your question is, how do you learn to self-validate, create that intrinsic sense of worth and sense of self? There are many, many mechanisms, but one that I'd love to talk about today is just the identification of what a win looks like for you. Like, what does a winning day look like for you? And that question sounds simple, but the answers are very complex because they're so unique and individualized to each and every woman in each and every stage of her life, and in specific seasons of life or seasons of the year, even like calendar seasons. So this regular asking yourself, what does a win look like for me right now in this season? It might look like I have a big deliverable at work that I really care about. So for the next 2 weeks, a win looks like a lot of dedication to work. And I am going to communicate that to my partner and my family. I'm going to access resources like pre-made meals or, something. It's like help with school pickup from a friend, something that's going to allow me to have that be my win. But again, this is just like having a plan, but yourself, what does a win look like for me? When you do that and you clock in stacked up days of these wins, right? I'm using air quotes, wins. Then you've done what you're supposed to do, even if no one else notices. You can clap for yourself. You can say, okay, for me in my life right now, winning is choosing nutritious food, period. But if that's the only thing you need to change about your life, great. And if that's what a win looks like, at the end of the day, you'll say, okay, bump, up, 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 up. This is what I ate. Nutritious, check, I won. Right? You clap for yourself, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says or does about it. That is power.
Alrighty, y'all, let's take a quick break to hear about some things that might make your mom life a little bit easier. Hey, mama friends, can I just share something that's going to be a total game changer for moms with toddlers? You know that overwhelming question that pops up of, what should I be doing to help my child learn at home? Well, here's what I love about learning with Kelsey. The founder, Kelsey, gets it because she's been in our shoes. And as a former teacher and a mom, she knows exactly what kids need to thrive in kindergarten. But she also understands how overwhelming it can feel trying to figure it all out ourselves. You can check out her story because she was on our podcast in season 6, episode 7. Now, each month, you'll get a beautifully curated box filled with hands-on activities that actually make learning fun and not stressful. We're talking toddler boxes, preschool boxes, kinder prep, even sensory boxes. Everything is age appropriate and designed by someone who truly understands child development. And here's the best part. Over 35,000 moms are already using these boxes, which means Kelsey has figured out how to take the guesswork out of early learning for all of us. I'm excited to offer our listeners $10 off their first order. So just head to rstr.co/learningwithkelsey/5062, or you can click the link in our show notes. Now, trust me, as a former teacher, this is an amazing resource for any moms with toddlers. It'll save you time and energy and take the guesswork out of figuring out how to help your child learn at home. Okay, mama friends, let's dive back into this amazing conversation.
There are many, many mechanisms, but one that I'd love to talk about today is just the identification of what a win looks like for you. Like, what does a winning day look like for you? And that question sounds simple, but the answers are very complex because they're so unique and individualized to each and every woman in each and every stage of her life, and in specific seasons of life or seasons of the year, even like calendar seasons. So this regular asking yourself, what does a win look like for me right now in this season? It might look like I have a big deliverable at work that I really care about. So for the next 2 weeks, a win looks like a lot of dedication to work. And I am going to communicate that to my partner and my family. I'm going to access resources like pre-made meals or, something. It's like help with school pickup from a friend, something that's going to allow me to have that be my win. But again, this is just like having a plan, but yourself, what does a win look like for me? When you do that and you clock in stacked up days of these wins, right? I'm using air quotes to wins. Then you've done what you're supposed to do, even if no one else notices. You can clap for yourself. You can say, okay, for me in my life right now, winning is choosing nutritious food, period. If that's the only thing you need to change about your life, great. And if that's what a win looks like, at the end of the day, you'll say, okay, bump, up, 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 up. This is what I ate. Nutritious, check, I won. Right? You clap for yourself, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says or does about it. That is power.
That I love that. I love the, notion of wins, because I'm such a huge fan of have your wins. Say, identify your wins, celebrate your wins. I think that celebration part is huge. It's like seeing yourself, right? Like
it's
celebrating
a great way to demonstrate to our children how we are living and how they could integrate that into their own lives. So if you're celebrating it, if you're like, for example, if you choose a specific win that you are striving for, and at the end of the day, you've achieved it and you feel proud of it, maybe out loud you verbalize to your children, hey guys, mommy is so proud that today she did this. I made a commitment to myself. I followed through and I feel really proud of myself. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to go, yay, mom, because they love you. You're their son.
Yeah.
So while you may not need that validation, you verbalizing out loud affirms it to yourself and also teaches with really sticky, effectiveness there. Because they're going to go, well, if mama values her body enough to go get movement every day, I should value my body enough to go get movement every day, just as an example.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a prime example I've done lately. It's like, look, your mom was never a runner and now I'm running a mile, y'all. And my kids are like, go mama. I'm like, great. I didn't need that. But also, I just recognize myself, and it is modeling. Huge.
Yeah. Well, huge. And there's all sorts of different ways you can model behavior by living out the behavior that you'd want for your highest self as well, right? And things like integrating movement are an easy one, and we talk about it a lot. But what about fighting for yourself with a partner, like communicating a need without name calling or being nasty or something like that, just being calm and saying, actually, no, I'm going to tell you my truth right now. I'm going to let my kids see me tell you my truth right now. There's all sorts of different layers. I had a difficult conversation professionally a couple of months ago, and you better believe I came home and I told the kids about it. I had to fight for my own self today at work. I had to get uncomfortable. I had to say hard things. I prepared beforehand. And even though I was emotional, this is what I did. They're big eyes, big saucer plate eyes. They're like, what? And maybe they're too young to absorb that word for word, but I'm going to continue communicating it to them so that they see I'm trying, baby, I'm standing up for myself. I'm doing these things. And not only does that remind me that I did it, so go me, power, like power fuel, banking of fuel. but it also shows them how they can live in the future.
I love that. It just goes back to modeling, right? It's just
Yeah.
modeling for yourself, most importantly, but for your kids as well.
Well, that's the beautiful thing of it, is if you treat your
Mhm.
with a high enough regard to do the hard things and do, demonstrate things that you'd be proud of, then the icing on the cake is that you can use it as an example of how they might want to live in the future.
It's a win-win, y'all.
Yeah, it's a do as I do, not just do as I say, and that's
Exactly.
so important in parenting. Not that this is a parenting podcast or, anybody
Yeah.
asking about my
Yeah.
opinion about that, but I think it's really important.
Yeah, yeah. Well, motherhood is part of parenting, right? Like it's all entangled. It's all entangled.
Yeah, for example, say you have a daughter or two. If all your daughter ever sees is her mom sacrificing herself to the bone, never taking care of her own needs, always exhausted, never fulfilled, never serving herself, only ever serving others, what is she learning?
Mm-hmm.
That the second she becomes a mother, her life becomes less valuable? Because careful, that's what you're teaching her.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I had an epiphany the other day where my kids are going back to school, so moms, you all know, like schedules and pickups and all after school. Oh my God.
I
Like
spent 3 hours last week mapping out an activity schedule on our calendars, and I was like, well, okay, I got to do this because I'm feeling this horrible stress load, about it.
yeah. And I remember my kids were like seeing how like anxious and stressed I was. And I said, I had it in my mind, I was like, this is a good opportunity to show my kids that I'm going to ask for help from their dad.
Yes.
And so like, I was like, and I had that conversation in the open and my kids heard that. And I was like, this is what they need to hear, is that I can't do it all. And I'm going to ask for help. Yeah. Right. And and that stuff, and that right there, it's like, it makes me like, there we go. Like I, was modeling, but also putting myself, asking, what do I need in that moment? So, a lot of things are firing in my head out of what you just shared, Julia.
Yeah. And it's so important to remember that no matter how wonderful your partner is, and so many of us are gifted with great partners, they can't read your mind.
No, yes.
Your mind. They need you to say out loud. And I'm sorry if that feels like a burden. It shouldn't, because the ability to say out loud what we need is a source of power. Remember that. The ability to say out loud, this is what I need, allows them to serve you. Imagine that. Imagine if there was someone in your life that you were stifling their ability to serve you simply because of lack of communication. Oh no, you know what I mean? Like, we need to let the people in our lives serve us. I think about that all the time. The way it feels to deeply love a person in your life, it's like the best feeling on earth, right? Like, I adore you, I serve you. That feels good. But are you stealing that from the people in your life as it pertains to you by never communicating your needs and never allowing them to take over and never allowing them to be the point person for something in the life? Like, they want to serve you too.
It's an act of love.
It's an act of love. Let them love you.
Yeah, that is a huge, that I love that, because that's a big reframe, I feel like, for all moms, because asking for what you need there's this narrative like, oh, it feels selfish, or I don't want to burden them, or, like they should know. I'm like, no, they don't know, like it's just like, no, love, people serve because it's their way of showing their love and care. Right.
Well, part of the reason why we don't like to ask for help is because we wait until we're in crisis to do it. And so it always has a negative connotation. And you always feel like, oh man, I was so desperate. I was crying. I was emotional. I was a wreck. Well, of course that feels negative to you. What if you flipped the script and I'm sorry, pardon my nerdiness, but if you applied business acumen to it and you said, hey, this trying time in our personal life is coming up, and because I have a brain, I can foresee that this and this is going to be a challenge. So when this challenge A, comes up, I need you to be available. Yes. On the days that I work late, because I have this project deliverable, I need you to make dinner. Babe, I don't care if it's peanut butter sandwiches, just make dinner. And
Just
they would
put food on the table.
they would say, great, and you have to remember, do not, unless someone's safety is at risk, there's no criticism welcome here, right? You ask for help, you accept the help. But that lets them love you, and you get to associate asking without this negativity of crisis, where it's 7:00 and you got home from this big meeting and you're like, well, why isn't there dinner on the table? And now everybody's having a fight and everybody's hangry at the same time. That is ugly, and we don't want to do that. And so could be avoided.
That comes back to the plan.
Like, I love about having a plan. It is, well, it's all about valuing yourself enough to believe you're worthy of the plan.
Yeah.
And going back to what we were just talking about, that's worthiness of love, worthiness to let someone serve you. That's what that's about. You are just as worthy as your children and your partner in terms of letting people help you, serve you, provide for you, love on you, all of those things. You are just as worthy of that.
Okay, Mama, if you're listening, you can rewind and re-listen to that as when you need that on those days that you need that for yourself, right? That is such a powerful message that we all need to remind ourselves of. So as, we're wrapping up here, what are some lasting words of wisdom that you'd like to give to our mama friend who's listening right now?
So there's two things. The first one, it's a special quote that I have just locked into my heart forever and has really helped me with the disentanglement of my needs are some kind of burden to myself or others. Because I don't know why, but I perceived that for a really long time. Like, oh, if I ask for too much, someone will flee, someone will, whatever the fill in the blank thing is. Maybe that's my personal experience. I don't think it is. The quote is, having a need doesn't make you needy, and asking for help doesn't make you helpless. It's part of the human experience. Having a need doesn't make you needy. Asking for help doesn't make you helpless. It's not that black and white, right? There's a lot of gray that we live in here. And then the lasting thought is, you have to decide as you start your self-making journey and as you start to change into this true version of yourself, you have to decide that you're worthy of this work.
Yeah.
And you have to go on a long walk and let some tears fall to allow that realization to come into your heart. But you are worthy of it. Your life is sacred. Becoming a mother did not change that in any way.
Yeah. And you get to choose.
It is a choice. It's a choice.
Yeah. Well, oh my gosh, you dropped the mic so many times in the conversation today, Julia. I love it. As my teen daughters will say, that is fire.
Yes.
Low-key fire.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, how can people get connected to you, find you, your book? I know it's coming out.
It's coming. So we are set to have book in hand in January. So it's coming. And everything is on theselfmademom.com, theselfmademom.com. You can find worksheets and digital resources and access to our online community. I have a digital masterclass that is, I think it's 100 hours of education around topics like this. We have self-making exercises. You throw in your email, I will email you. You can call me. I'm available to help you, and I want to do that. But go to theselfmademom.com and all the things are there.
Awesome. I'll include all those links in the show notes.
Yeah.
And
our social handles are the same thing. It's on Instagram, Facebook, and all that. It's at the Self-Made Mom.
Awesome. Everyone go check that out. Connect with Julia. Check out her resources and everything. She has a lot on her website because I've taken a peek. So before we end, you ready for our game, Mom Moments in a Minute?
I'm ready.
All right, let's play this game. Okay, so first question is, to have a moment of peace and quiet to yourself, which place would you choose out of these 4 options? The bathroom, the car, the bedroom, or the closet?
The bedroom, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't be in our room. It is a place of rest and respite, and so it is. I have no qualms closing the door and saying Mama needs a nap. No qualms.
Awesome. I love that. Same here. Number 2, what's your favorite thing to do with your kids?
Ironically, as I'm prepping for a camping trip today, I'd say camping. I love to be outside. I love getting creative on the camping stove and just having uninterrupted days worth of life in the sunshine with the kids. We do all sorts of card games and painting. I mean, it's really fun. Very high focus family time.
Yeah, and out in nature. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, there's a reason we live in Colorado.
Yeah, I was like, oh, so jealous, so jelly right now. I'm like,
Yes.
I love camping.
Yes.
So last question is to relax. What would you choose? A spa, a hike, a nap, read, or craft?
Hike.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and not just because of where we live, but because I think there's a really deep and distinct tie for me as an individual between physical movement and mental rest. And that may not be the case for everyone, but for me, if I'm moving my body, I think more clearly and I can kind of let go of the negative, bad stuff and let the good stuff come in.
Yeah. If I was living in Colorado, I'd go hiking with you because I love hiking. That's my favorite way too.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for being here on the podcast and just dropping all those gems of wisdom for us.
Thank you for having me. It was delightful.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Thanks, Julia. Alrighty, moms. I hope you enjoyed and feel empowered and seen from today's conversation. Our mission here on the podcast is to amplify the stories of all moms so that you can be seen, heard, and supported in your motherhood journey, regardless of whether you're balancing motherhood with an external career or choosing to dedicate yourself fully to motherhood. And we would appreciate your support because your support matters. And here are 3 ways to support the mission of the podcast. First, you can leave a rating on Apple Podcasts so more moms can discover this podcast. You can select a star rating by scrolling down on the Empowered Working Mom Revolution show page in the Apple Podcast app. 2, you can write a review on Apple Podcasts so more moms can find a place of solace, comfort, and belonging through this podcast. You can do this by scrolling down on the Empowered Working Mom Revolution show page in the Apple Podcast app and tap Write a Review. And lastly, make a one-time donation to the podcast for as little as $7 or whatever amount feels best for you. You can click the link in the show notes to make a donation. We appreciate your support and thanks again for listening in and joining me here on the podcast. I look forward to sharing with you another inspiring mom moment story next week. So until next Wednesday, moms, have a great day.